coming on now.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
all good.
Perfect. Right. Okay. So thanks so much. My name is Rita So, and on behalf of the team, I am going to talk to you about an exciting new tool that will better support air policy and regulation development. Despite improvements in air quality since the 1990s, air pollution continues to be the largest environmental risk to human health. In Canada, it is estimated that air pollution contributes to thousands of hospital visits and more than 17,400 premature deaths each year, with a monetized value of $146 billion. In addition to human health impacts, some air pollutants also contribute to climate change and can threaten vulnerable ecosystems. Recent studies indicate that some communities are disproportionately impacted. For example, the Aamjiwnaang First Nation in Sarnia is surrounded by large industrial complexes, as shown here. As such, a coordinated effort between all levels of government is essential to tackling air pollution and to mitigate the compounding risk factors, such as changing demographics and climate change. In order to develop an evidence-based approach to air management, understanding the current state of knowledge is a key component and requires information from multiple data sets. However, barriers continue to exist. As such, we surveyed 39 public servants across governments involved in air management. The pie chart here shows the variety of our respondents' role. We asked them what barriers they encounter when working with air quality data sets. The top barriers identified include limited resources. Some jurisdictions have shortage of technical staff or inadequate computing infrastructure. Technical challenges related to data access, integration, and analysis. Data awareness gaps, where respondents didn't know what relevant data is available. Respondents also noted other data-related issues, such as lack of integration, silo processes and applications, and data quality issues. This illustrates the need for an accessible, user-friendly tool that integrates key data sets and provides a platform for data exploration and analysis. Our proposed solution to these barriers is Airtime. Airtime is an interactive, bilingual, and accessible web-based data visualization and analysis tool. It provides timely and convenient access to current air quality and socioeconomic data sets that enables intersectional analysis and also foster coordination and collaboration across governments. Airtime enables air quality management by facilitating improved understanding of trends, past, present, and future, identification of current and emerging air quality issues, and also hotspots and disproportionately impacted communities. This also improves evidence-based decision-making for enhanced development of regulations and other risk management tools, which could reduce adverse impacts of air pollution on human health and the environment. This ultimately could improve the fulfillment of our departmental responsibilities, including preventing and managing pollution and conserve nature. Our intended users are public servants across the governments involved in air quality management and regulatory services. Some of these users include policy analysts, regulators, air quality planners. They're interested in gaining key insights such as impacts from sectors, understanding air quality issues, identifying hotspots and disproportionately impacted communities, and other high-level insights that would help inform air management priorities. While intended users are the public service, we recognize that other users, such as academia, could also leverage the benefits from this tool. We're now going to show you a sample walkthrough of how a user could benefit and gain evidence for decision-making through the use of airtime. Quick disclaimer, the data that I'm about to show you is for illustrative purposes only and should not be further interpreted. Here we have Rochelle. They are a regulator at ECCC and a manager of a team that is developing regulations for the petroleum sector. They collaborate with the governments as well as other stakeholders and indigenous communities. To support their work, Rochelle would like to gain some insights on trends, exceedances, and also some information on emissions. Rochelle goes over to airtime and they see this as the landing page, which is in the Explorer mode and is showing the most recent air management level for fine particulate matter. They would then use these drop-down menus on the left to navigate to the data of interest. In Rochelle's case, they want to focus on the oil sands region, and so under geographic region, they select Alberta. They're interested in ambient SO2 concentrations and want to see whether low-income households may be disproportionately impacted. They then select the available mapping options, click on plot, and voila. So now we're seeing the most recent annual peak SO2 concentrations in the circles, and the map shows the prevalence of low-income households by census division. The darker shades of blue corresponds to higher percentage of low-income households. Rochelle can see how the oil sands region here compared to the rest of the province. They can click the select the region of interest. And now we can see additional high-level insights about the number of monitors, some indication of potential exceedances of air quality or health thresholds, and then also information on their past and projected future trends. Another thing that Rochelle is interested in is the proximity of facilities to Indigenous communities. They would then make the appropriate selection on the left, and then so now we're seeing the SO2 emissions at the facilities. And if we were to click on the region again, we can see more information about the facilities as well as their past and projected trends. On the map, we can now see where these facilities are in relation to the Indigenous reserve land, which are colored in blue here. This information is very helpful for Rochelle's team to confirm who to engage and to be able to share these timely insights with their stakeholders, which can support coordination and collaboration. These benefits to Rochelle and other users of airtime could support improved air management, which in turn could improve the environmental and health outcomes for all people living in Canada. In addition to the Explorer mode, there's also the Analyst mode, which takes you to a Jupyter notebook that allows users to interact with the data directly. This would be very useful for those that want to make custom visualizations or doing additional analysis without having to download, clean, integrate the data sets. There would be sample scripts and also tutorials on how to prompt an AI, such as Llama, ChatGPT, or other open source AI to help users to develop the necessary codes for certain visuals. This will be done in accordance with Canada's guide on the use of generative AI. We're also exploring the potential of including a natural language querying feature that allows users to ask questions about the data, and it would interpret and generate the necessary visuals and insights. This will not be in our initial prototype, but perhaps in future iterations.
Rita, just to say you've got 1 minute left.
Thank you. To summarize, airtime will help address the previously identified barriers that are limiting air management. It will support improved collaboration and stakeholder experience. It will enhance data-driven decision-making by enabling streamlined analysis and providing cost-effective solutions. This could lead to improved environmental and health outcomes for Canadians, which could also support our departmental goals of Canadians having clean air and water, and that the Canadian environment is protected from harmful substances. In terms of next steps, we will continue stakeholder engagement, finalize key data sets, refine technical requirements, and initiates prototype development. And that concludes our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Rita, thank you so much. I'm now going to invite all of your team members to put their cameras on, and I'm going to come straight over to the judges. Judges, who would like to ask the first question? Was that Wesley? Did you have your hand up there?
No, but I will ask a question.
Sorry, I saw you moving. Don't move at this stage.
Yeah, don't. So thank you. Really interesting, and I think that there's a definite need for this type of stuff. A couple questions in terms of it's visualization, and that's great. I'm going to equate that with a dashboard. Dashboards are great to figure out where have we been. Okay. What I'm wondering is, would there be an opportunity to download some of this data if somebody, would want to do, integrate with other data sources to do some sort of predictive analysis, or are there plans within the tool to combine with other data sources to perhaps do some predictive analysis or something like that?
Thanks, Wesley. Great question. Who would like to answer that question? Rita, shall I? Yeah, Eve, I'll come to you first.
Eve, you're on mute, or not on mute, but no sound.
All right, that better?
That's better. We've lost your face, but we've got your sound.
Okay, there. So I hit two buttons.
There we go.
Sorry about that. So yes, there will be possibility to download, but it's not the objective. We're targeting the Federal Science Data Hub, and as such, this is going to help us integrate data in one location in a cloud manner, so that we don't have to download data. We can actually analyze, download right there without downloading it.
Thanks, Eve. Rita, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so as Eve said, the data there are some plans of how to put the data sets into open formats that would be on a server that is accessible to across governments of Canada, and then so they would be able to to access the data that way without having to download like massive data sets.
Thanks, Rita. Okay, I'm going to come back to yes, Gabrielle.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this, and certainly, as Wesley mentioned, nice to see some thinking in this space as required. I guess two questions would be leveraging the Federal Science Data Hub. You're looking to integrate existing data sets, and you sort of list them, and I know you talked about in your next steps, you had a conversation, or you're going to have conversations on what data can you access. And so can you speak to a little bit to those data sets themselves, any access concerns, anything like that? And then more generally, just around other data or related proposal challenges that you may see.
Yeah, no, I can definitely start answering that questions. So in terms of key data sets that we have in mind for air quality, so there would be emissions data sets, ambient air quality sets, and also modeling data sets and satellite data sets. And in our minds, these would be either they're open already, like they're publicly published information, but then, users just have difficulties of accessing them sometimes. And so then we would do the initial stage of either cleaning the data sets or integrating the data sets so that it would be on this data hub, which they can then access the data more easily. And then in terms of other data, so in terms of socioeconomic data sets that we have in mind, those would be from Stats Canada Census of Population data. So that would also be published in open data as well.
Thanks, Rita. Does anyone else want to come in from the team before I go back? Yes, Zoe.
Just a quick quick note on data sets. So we think it's important to manage users' expectations of what the tool is appropriate for, because no tool could contain every single data set that's possibly out there. And we are intending to focus on publicly available data sets that have been mostly QA/QC'd, so we can provide all that information, the limitations. We'd also like to provide data sets that we're aware of, or maybe our providers are aware of, for niche data sets, or maybe very highly localized data sets that could be part of the tool that will pop up, so that someone could see, okay, well, we have some air monitoring data, we have some satellite data, some modeling data, but there are these niche data sets that maybe you need to contact an academic or a local organization so that they could, have a more fulsome analysis that wouldn't necessarily be directly accessible through our tool.
Thanks, Zoe. Judges, I'm coming back to you. Who would like to ask the next question? Elise.
Merci. Thank you for the presentation. Really appreciate the inclusiveness as well of your example and your user story. Good work there. My question of the day is about the challenges. Like, what do you foresee being your key challenges moving forward? And just building on that, that's a busy space, mapping and everything else. So what makes your thing distinctive?
Thanks. So challenges and how do you stand out? Who would like to take that one? Zoe, come to you first.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So we did a risk analysis where we looked at risks that we could think of that would have high impact and high probability. And what we determined was the top two would be lack of tool uptake. As you said, there are a lot of other tools out there. And for this risk, we decided that the best solution was to really have an advertising campaign to make it very clear to lots of potential users that this tool is available. So for example, you've probably heard of road shows where groups will go around to different provinces, territories, municipalities, etc., to advertise. But beyond that, making the tool really easy to use and understand. It's not just enough that people know that the tool is available, but how to use it and having support to do so. So for example, we would provide training videos and tutorials on the tool's webpage. We would arrange live training opportunities like webinars people can sign up for, and make sure that users have support via an email where users can identify bugs and ask questions and get support that would be monitored frequently. Another challenge, oh, sorry, can I?
Yeah, no, please continue.
Another challenge and risk that we've identified is that there is a lack of fine resolution data on a national scale for a completely holistic analysis in every locale in Canada. We just don't have the data everywhere. And so it's going to be very important to manage user expectations, as I had mentioned before. So this would be strategic communications on what the appropriate use of the tool is, including fact sheets, a limits and caveat page, and also for all of the data sets provided, making sure that users have access to all of the relevant metadata, such as the methodologies and uncertainties, as well as the contact information for the providers, so that there is no misinterpretation, as well as I said, providing links to niche data sets. And to speak to the fact that we're competing in a sense with other tools that are already there, we did an environmental scan, and mapping tools are becoming increasingly popular. They become pretty normal in the States. You may have seen EJ Screen, which is an environmental justice mapping tool. But what we noticed that in Canada, a lot of the tools either lack multiple pollutants or multiple years. There's very limited types of air quality data, or it's very local for certain geographies, or it's very urban. The only tool that we found that had national coverage had so many data sets for environmental factors that Rita and I tried to use it and really struggled to even find data sets that we knew existed and use the mapping tool. So I think that what sets our tool apart, especially for air management, is that it's targeted for air management in ways that align with data goals of being integrated, user-friendly, accessible, supported, and also supporting analysis of all of the potential data sets that are out there that are already publicly available. And I think that sets us apart.
Thanks, Zoe. Does anybody want to add to that before I go back to the judges? No, nice comprehensive answer. Judges, do we have another question for the team? Yes, coming over to you, Julie.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. I just have one question in terms of maybe where do you see this going? Because right now it's very focused to your groups, your stakeholders' needs. Do you see this as potentially helping to grow new data sets, for example, or expanding the usage outside government, all government levels? Do you have any insights to that effect?
Great question. Who would like to take that one first?
Yeah, I can start answering that one. So the tool as is, like we do realize it's really focused on air quality, air management, but we do foresee that, other governments could potentially find this useful as well. For example, Natural Resources Canada, when they do infrastructure development, perhaps this air quality, this quick synthesis of data is like all that they need to get going to think about, who to contact, who to engage. There's also Agriculture Canada, who may be interested in the emissions for livestock and fertilizer use. Our partners, Health Canada, for sure, like when they look at, different thresholds for different pollutants, air exposure is one of the key data sets that they're interested in, and we do work a lot with them collaboratively. There's also Indigenous Service Canada and also Indigenous and Intergovernmental Affairs Division within ECCC. So some of these government departments are also looped in for when ECCC develops our regulations, and then also potentially for when they want to develop their resources as well. This might be a helpful tool. In terms of like the infrastructure, the methodology of airtime itself, so moving these data sets to the open formats, going to the data hub, I think I can see this as being transferable to other, for maybe not so well formatted data set files, to be deposited in a centralized accessible data hub. So I think that methodology can be transferable for other departments or other uses.
Thanks. Did anyone else want to come in on that question? Yes, Zoe.
If I can just add to that for how this might help move the field forward in terms of these types of tools. We've discussed this a lot, and we think that this could be a pilot project in a sense for a greater or a broader environmental mapping tool when ECCC is likely to develop something like EJ Screen, particularly as expected, Bill CC26, the Environmental Justice Bill, is passed, and there will be a lot of work on analysis. We can see that becoming a priority for Environment Canada. And so this tool could be provided as a lessons learned and a pilot for our colleagues in the strategic policy branch to start working on what kind of tool would have this, but with all of the environmental factors and not just available to government, but also public, which, involves a lot more risk management and also, accessibility to all sorts of different types of communities and different languages, et cetera. So I think that while our colleagues are working on preparing for the Environmental Justice Bill and working on environmental justice, our tool could be useful for laying some groundwork of getting some experiences of what work well and what challenges they might face.
Thanks, Zoe. I'm very conscious of the time. Judges, do you have any other questions to put to the team? No, all good. Team, say a big thank you from all of us. Merci beaucoup for the presentation. Good luck going forward. And I'm now going to invite you to exit the call. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great. Judges, you have 10 minutes. We will be starting again at 3:10.